We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. HOTspots' new issue spotlights Taste of the Island, The Cher Show, and the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival, plus exclusive interviews and features.
Jason Kelce regrets reacting to a homophobic slur with aggression at a recent game. He promised to prioritize respect and inclusivity going forward.
For LGBTQ Americans, Project 2025 threatens rights from marriage equality to healthcare access. This highlights urgent calls for democratic protection against restrictive GOP policies.
GLAAD's alert documents 1,109 anti-LGBTQ incidents nationwide, including bomb threats, vandalism, and assaults. This stresses an urgent need for unified resistance against hate.
South Florida's trans community gathers on November 14th to discuss rights, resilience, and equity at the event hosted by Trans Inclusive Group. Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. It is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ evening news show. What happens unique in LGBTQ news? You'll see it and hear it. HOTspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight, who I am honored to be sharing the roundtable with. Let's welcome anchor Cindy Brown. Cindy was an early organizer of the Miami AIDS Walk and the White Party for Care resource. She is the programs director for the Lambda Living program at Jewish Community Services, and she also served as the founding executive director of Miami Beach Pride. Cindy, always so great to see you.
Yes.
Lambda Living, Pride Lines, and Sage Serves are conducting a Friendsgiving lunch on November 18th. Tell me what's happening.
Yes, well, every year we host a Friendsgiving lunch because we have our family.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity for us to celebrate gratitude with our friends and our family on Thanksgiving if we do so. It is on Monday, November 18th. It's at Pride Lines location on Northwest 7th Avenue. And we hope you join us. You have to register. So to find out more about registering, Google Lambda Living online, and you'll get to our calendar, and there will be an opportunity for you to RSVP for the event there. And we hope to see you. And if you're coming from Miami and you're within 24.9 miles of Pride Lines, we have some free Uber vouchers, so transportation won't be an issue. So
That's amazing.
I can't think of a reason why not to go. Some
Exactly.
Uber, I mean, go. And they can find more information at, if you Google Lambda Living
online.
So you heard it here first. Lambda Living online. Go right now.
Will there be turkey? Just need to know.
Yes, there will. And it is, Lambda Living is a program for older adults, so 55 and older.
You heard it.
So you need a blender, put the turkey in first?
You have to make it a puree? Is that what we're saying?
I don't know.
You know what? It's so funny
On a
that
cracker.
we're talking about food and all of this because I'm actually going to introduce you now, Glenn. Let's
right.
welcome Glen
Absolutely.
Weinzimer. He owns Bona Italian Restaurant, Delicious, in Wilton Manors. Glenn is the founder of the Smart Ride, which raised over $16 million for the HIV/AIDS community. He is passionate about getting out the LGBTQ vote in the critical election year. Today, right now.
Today.
Glenn, the Smart Ride Reunion Cruise is on November 9th. It is an 8-day Caribbean cruise with happening out.travel. Tell me what's happening.
We're excited about it because, as most people know, last year was our last Smart Ride in its format of riding from Miami to Key West every year. And a lot of the folks that I've got to meet over the last 20 years I've become close friends, and I won't get to see them. So we decided, what better way than to go ahead and put together a reunion cruise, bring the gang back together. They're going to get to bike ride at each one of the ports of call. The ship is allowing bicycles on board with no charge. They'll put them out at each stop. They'll have local guides that will take them around whatever island. Like when we're in Puerto Rico, they'll go into Old San Juan, and then those of us who are not getting on their bike, there'll be transportation to those sites to catch up with the bikers when they get there.
Private local tour guides, basically.
Private local, yeah.
That's
That the ship is
fabulous.
arranging and
Sounds
hopping out.
so much fun.
And it started at less than $500 to be on the trip.
Oh, wow.
And it's the MSC. It's one of the new ships. It's only 2
It
years
leaves
old.
this weekend?
It leaves this weekend, the 9th. Yeah.
Are you going?
Of
Yes,
course
of
he's
course. I was
going.
going to say, please, your bags are packed.
They called me and said, you didn't register. And I said, I thought I was going for free. And they're like, no, you got to pay for it. And I was like, all right, then you better book me. So I convinced a friend, and he's coming with. And so we're going to have a blast.
That's
Yes, it's going to be a good
Can't
group
wait
of
to see
people.
the coverage.
Yeah.
Take pictures.
We'll take pictures. Al will be there. So there'll be lots of pictures.
Oh, there'll be everything.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Al and Rich are coming.
Fabulous. Jealous.
So yeah. Okay. And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Eric Restivo, to my right. Eric is well known for DJing at some of the largest clubs in West Hollywood and has had residences in LA, P-Town, New York City, and now Wilton Manors. He is the television host of The W Boys, focusing on LGBTQ love for entertainment, broadcast on Fridays and then on demand. Welcome, Eric.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much.
It's so good to have you with us.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. First, let's queer up HOTspots magazine. HOTspots magazine's new issue will be on stands November 7th. It is a special restaurant issue. HOTspots will be celebrating 40 years soon. Wowza. And it will also release a new issue Thursday. The magazine is part of HOTspots Happening Out, the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media group in America. This new HOTspots issue is a special restaurant edition with features such as Taste of the Island, including all of the restaurants participating in the event. All the details of more than 40 different restaurants and beverage companies participating in this new sellout event on Wilton Drive. If you are an art and culture lover, you cannot miss the feature on the Art of Drag fundraiser that is happening on November 17th at Aquaplex, formerly Lips. If you wish to set the holiday mood right by watching beautiful international films, then you must read a dedicated feature on the Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival that is taking place from November 8th through 17th. Talking about the holiday spirit, Mike Ruiz's Mutts and Muscles 2025 calendar is out, and by the looks of it, I need to grab one. And the magazine has covered everything you want to know about the sexy calendar. But wait! There's more. That is not all. Tony Award-winning The Cher Show is coming to South Florida soon. It will be making not one, but 2 stops. To find out more about the show and the behind-the-scenes fun moments, you must read the interview of Tyler Perrung, who plays multiple roles in the musical. The magazine also has a feature on the gay doctor everyone is talking about, Chris Azzopardi, who has written a beautiful feature on an out actor, Zachary Quinto, who plays Dr. Oliver Wolf in the new NBC series Brilliant Minds. Next, we have to address the recent news that concerns the South Florida queer community. Yes, we are talking about the resignation of Mike Martorell as the president of Pride Fort Lauderdale. Scott Holland interviewed Martorell after the resignation to understand what happened. You must read it. And of course, you can always read popular features like Hot Bodies by Leo Harley, Hot Eats by Maria Espinal, and What's Hot and Out by Scott Holland. Grab your free copy of HOTspots magazine on Thursday, November 7th, or you might just miss all of the fun. And anytime I get to report on another issue of HOTspots, I always start out by saying it's your one-stop shop for everything in South Florida and Wilton Manors. Those of us who get overstimulated by picking where to go for dinner, thank you, Maria Espinal. And I'm really looking forward to reading the interview between Mike and Scott. I think that's what we're all kind of looking to dive into.
When I was beginning the Miami Beach Pride, Mike was one of the people I reached out to and met with, and I'm very interested to read that. I might just have to give him a call.
And and because I am someone who sort of am looking from the outside in, I'm still new to South Florida, just about 2 years now. What has really been the downfall of it? Because that's what people say. It's been been his.
Glenn can speak to that.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on who you are and where you're looking at it from.
Okay.
Mike he didn't start it, but Mike's been in charge for quite some time, and he's put a lot of his personal fortune into keeping the event afloat and making up shortfalls for people that they may have hired that were the wrong people for the position and didn't allow for them to have the sponsorship and everything that they needed. So I feel for Mike because I know I got to talk to him briefly, and I know how passionate he is about this event and what it means to him personally. So, I like Cindy, can't wait to read what he actually had to say to Scott.
Right.
Because I'd be really curious to see what prompted him after reorganizing and getting a new board to step away at this point. I don't know if he feels it's better for the organization and his credibility, if his name is no longer associated. But, part of me who does events knows how hard that can be and how cruel at times our community can be. And so, I hope if he's doing this, it's a good mental thing for him to not feel like he's under attack and he can step away and
I can see that because as someone who, the Miami Beach Pride, there was nothing. So he helped me kind of build what Miami Beach now has today. And when I go to Pride now, I'm incredibly proud of what it's become.
Yeah.
But the first couple of years after I left, it was kind of hard. And, Mike has poured his heart and soul into it year after year. And he deserves a break. He's done wonderful things. And, he deserves to be honored for what he has done for this community for so long.
And I hope he does.
I think that's really important.
That as well.
I think next year, hopefully, will be his year for a lot of organizations to recognize and reflect on what he's given us as a community and what the number of people he's drawn in to our community, what it's meant for us financially from a tourist standpoint.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
there's so many elements to what the event creates and does that, I think sometimes we get lost in that dismissal.
Right. Well, and that's what I want to just kind of hone in on, because the negativity online and the comments, I mean,
I haven't seen any of it.
It's not great. There's harrowing things that are being said about Mike, and but
they're coming from the same group.
You're absolutely right.
There's a same group that attacks everything that doesn't go
just attacks.
Right.
That's what it is.
And that doesn't build up their credibility, and it doesn't do anything doesn't do anything to benefit the person that they're criticizing without knowing their full story.
That's right. And my point is that as someone who didn't know the full story, I will always honor the groundwork that has been laid up to this moment. You have to honor what someone has done.
And the reality is, if it wasn't for Mike, the organization would have folded years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Years ago.
So he kept it alive, and hopefully it'll grow from here, and hopefully the reorganization that he put into place will take off and run with it. And the naysayers that may be wanting to do the job and him be gone, maybe they'll go by quietly because no one will be interested in what they have to say.
Nobody knows the magnitude of what he has done, so I wish him the best of luck.
Absolutely. All right. Next, let's queer up gay culture. Jason Kelce makes us ask, who's the faggot now? In homophobic slur attack, Jason Kelce, former Philadelphia Eagles star and now ESPN analyst, found himself in a viral moment this past weekend at the Penn State versus Ohio State game. While holding a case of beer and walking through a crowd, Kelce was taunted with homophobic slurs targeting his brother Travis, who currently is dating Taylor Swift. One heckler yelled, quote, "Hey, Kelce, how does it feel that your brother's a faggot?" End quote. Referencing the dating rumors, Kelce reacted, grabbing and smashing the person's phone, later quipping, quote, "How does it feel to be the faggot now?" End quote. However, during the ESPN's Monday Night Countdown, Kelce expressed regret. Quote, "I'm not happy with anything that took place. I chose to greet hate with hate, and I don't think that's productive," end quote. The homophobic slur uses one of the most incendiary in English, with anti-gay connotations dating back to the early 1900s. Its first recorded use was in the 1914 book called A Vocabulary of Criminal Slang. The slur was used for a homosexual man. Though Kelce's response was heated, his apology shows his commitment to respect and inclusivity moving forward. I think what Kelce did was honorable in that he was defending his brother and the rumors that were going around. And I think, if you're taunted enough and you're poked enough, eventually you're going to react. Do we condone violence? No. There have been a better way, but a screaming match wouldn't have proved anything. I think that he could be condemned for what he's saying by the general public, or he can be embraced by the fact that he not only apologized, still defends his brother, and is a spokesperson, if you will, without knowing it, for the LGBTQ community in general by saying, he took violence to say you're wrong, don't call anyone that. And the word faggot is a trigger word.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked on this show before about the word
gross.
Queer. When I was growing up, if you said faggot or queer, I ran home.
Yeah.
Because those were words that
fighting
still
words.
when I was growing up, faggot was the number one bully when I was in high school. That was what I was called 7 days a week. That's what it was. So,
and I've had to work through the word queer over time, because from our generation, Cindy and I, if someone called you queer, that was incendiary. That was a call to fight.
Gross, right.
That was gross.
It's much different now, and I'm glad the young people are
embracing it and giving it a different connotation, but there is that respect for those of us who it's a trigger. When you say it, you're not going to necessarily get love out of me immediately. You got to know where it's coming from.
Listen,
and faggot still remains a bad word.
The Kelces have always sort of been a little bit famous, right? They've been football stars. They've been doing
and they have their
so they've
podcasts.
had their podcasts and that.
Right.
I don't think they ever expected to be this famous now. Taylor Swift. So I sort of think it's a little, I don't think the faggot part is funny at all, but I think that overnight Taylor's PR team was you better fucking fix this, because I cannot be affiliated with any of this. Get your brother off that. Yes, I love him for defending you, but fix this, So I forgive him, but at the same time, if I was at that level of stardom, I think that I would know that at all times there were people watching. The phone throwing down seemed a little extreme.
Well, I would also say that, ever since Travis and Taylor started dating, this family the Kelces have been ridiculed and called out for nothing. And, Travis is a great person. He happens to be dating, a mega star.
Right.
But what makes people think they have the right to say things like that and to say it in public? And
there's a tipping
there, and I will say kudos to him for reacting. And his apology was also appropriate. Maybe, smashing the phone, but to not say something and to let that kind of behavior stand with no consequence
would have been worse.
Is worse. And I just think that
there was no physical. He didn't punch the person.
Right.
He didn't attack them in anger.
Exactly.
And who knows how many times he's been pushed to this.
Well, and
this was the moment.
He had the phone up and he said it right.
Good for him. More endorsements.
Right. So
exactly.
Exactly.
It's got my vote.
Well, now let's queer up the USA View. Once again, this is the election of a lifetime for LGBTQ. Is this really this time? The election day is almost over, and the phrase, "this is the election of a lifetime," rings truer than ever for LGBTQ Americans. We have heard the phrase so many times, but at this hour, could it finally become true for the LGBTQ community? Our democratic republic stands on unsteady ground, and the rights of 8% of the population, I actually think it's higher, of the queer community of America are under direct threat. Project 2025, the GOP's proposed agenda for a second Trump administration, openly targets LGBTQ rights, aiming to overturn marriage equality, strip legal protections, and enforce restrictive definitions of family. Trump's election essentially guarantees a dramatic rejection of the T of LGBTQ. As a result, prominent voices within the queer community are sounding the alarm. Activist and actor Time Moss recalls that after Trump's 2017 inauguration, quote, "Everything on the official website of the White House mentioning LGBT and our rights had been removed and remained removed throughout his term," end quote. Former out CNN anchor Don Lemon warns that democracy itself is at stake. Lemon said, quote, "Kamala Harris is on the side of democracy," end quote, and points out her opponent's hateful campaign themes. Upper Darby Councilor Jess Branas, who is the first ever out lesbian on the council, highlights potential losses in healthcare, employment, fearing LGBTQ individuals could become, quote, "subpar citizens," end quote, under the Trump administration. For queer Americans, this election could determine not only if the community thrives, but if it is allowed to exist openly. Now, I grew up I was in high school in the Anita Bryant era, and any of you young queers out there who don't know who she is,
Do your homework.
do your homework,
now.
Google it. And so I came out and, really came into being who I am in a period of time where I could not do so openly. I remember the first gay pride march or parade that I participated in. It was maybe 1980 or something like that. And I held a sign when I saw TV cameras. I hid behind the sign because I didn't want to be outed. And, look at me now. Ha ha ha. But, this is really, right? This is a really, really scary time for us. And, we are fighters. We fought for everything we have. Nobody gave us rights. Nobody said, oh, you know what? Yeah, you should be protected from discrimination. No, we fought for everything that we have, and we'll fight for it again. I mean, there's no, once we came out of that closet, that door's shut. We can't go back in.
Right. The problem is multifaceted. With if Trump were to, God forbid, win today, that we're not only subpar, and once again, everything that we represent will come off the White House website. But if you're a woman and you're a lesbian,
right?
If you're a woman and you want to have a child and you're a lesbian, if you're a black lesbian woman
basically
wants to have
children, basically,
and then you take.
But there are a lot of other folks
groups,
in there.
but
of course,
there's a whole group of people that are not LGBTQ that are also going to be persecuted, and we're part of that. And their plan targets us directly, but it also is targeting a lot of minority groups. And
absolutely.
And so what happens tonight is going to have a major impact.
And I don't think it's going to happen tonight.
I don't either.
No, we were talking about that. I think it's going to be.
I think it's going to be a surprise landslide. Well, we won't know tonight, yeah.
Well, if it's a surprise landslide, we might know tonight. Yeah. But, the reality is that there are a lot of groups that will be hurt by this. Project 2025 talks about the elimination of the Department of Education. It talks about the elimination of FEMA. and privatization of some agencies that are government agencies. And once you privatize things,
CDC.
it becomes about money. Exactly. You can't privatize the CDC because then they're beholden to, money.
Right.
I mean, I just think that Project 2025 is scary. Actually,
Scary.
very scary. Every
Scary.
Tuesday morning at the Pride Center, there's coffee and conversation.
Yeah.
How's the coffee?
It's delicious.
Okay.
And Robert Boo, every Tuesday morning, he carries out this big binder. It's the entire Project 2025. And every Tuesday morning, he has some, tabs. He flips it over and he reads a section of Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are there sharp knives in the room? Because after a few weeks
What time
of that,
does this take place every Tuesday?
every Tuesday morning at the Pride Center at Equality Park in Wilton Manors, from 10 to 12 is coffee and conversation.
That's a great
It's a
thing to know.
wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's for seniors,
Okay.
and they get over 100 people. Before COVID, sometimes it's close to 200 people, and it's a wonderful opportunity. But Project 2025 scares the heck out of everyone that's in that room.
Oh yeah. It scares me to the point of I want to go to the courthouse and get married. Because me and my husband have been engaged. COVID canceled our ceremony, so we never did it. So I've been toying with the idea of just going, so we have it. But then I'm toying with the idea of what if this fucking maniac wins, and then we have it, and then they overturn it. So I'm like, let's just wait and see.
Do it now anyway. Don't wait and see, because it's going to be harder to dissolve marriages that already exist.
Okay.
They could stop marriages from happening,
right?
But
there's tax
do it
implications
now.
and all kinds of
Yeah,
health
do it
implications.
now.
Yeah. So I would definitely do it now.
Sunshine Cathedral, I'm coming.
Yes, yes.
All right. Next, let's clear up social justice. New survey confirms anti-LGBTQ attacks in USA increased 112% over the last 24 months. In the last 2 years, anti-LGBTQ attacks have surged by 112%. GLAAD's new anti-LGBTQ extremism reporting tracker has documented 1,109 incidents nationwide from June 2023 to 2024. This stark rise includes over 450 protests, 330 propaganda drops, 320 acts of vandalism, 200 bomb threats, 130 assaults, and 45 cases of arson, resulting in 161 injuries and 21 deaths. Transgender individuals and educational institutions have faced particularly harsh targeting. The alert data highlights over 567 attacks on transgender and gender nonconforming people, 360 incidents involving schools and libraries, and 160 violent threats towards drag performers. Healthcare providers offering gender-affirming care were also attacked, with over 140 incidences recorded. Barbara Simon, GLAAD's Senior Director of News and Campaigns, emphasized the tracker's role in educating the media on the scope of anti-LGBTQ violence. She said, quote, "Alert contextualizes these incidents for experts to understand larger systems of hate," end quote. This is scary, the number of attacks, and this is while we have a Democratic president.
Right.
What does the future hold?
I was just going to say that.
Well, good thing I caught you before you did.
It's like a continuation of what we were just talking about,
Exactly.
to be fair, though.
It's scary out there.
It's more of the unknown, but under a Democratic president, this has happened. Now, what will happen if he wins?
Right, because now you open the book to 2025, and there's the playbook, and it tells you exactly how it's going to happen.
Exactly. What I've noticed, though, and this is, it's horrible, the potentiality of what we could be facing in the short term, but, Glenn and I are of a certain generation, and hey, I'm there too. I'm with you, Glenn. So,
Mom and Dad are fighting.
we became activists because we had nothing. So we became activists because we wanted to live in the kind of community that is open and accepting. So we had to fight to make it that way. And then, you know, I don't know what generation it was, but like maybe a generation or two behind us were complacent because they watched us really get out there, and we got, okay, yeah, we have, especially in Miami-Dade County and in South Florida, we have our rights now. We're not going to do anything. Oh, we have marriage. We're stopping. We don't have to do anything. So the younger people now are becoming more politically active. They're becoming more aware of what's happening in their environment. They're not riding on the coattails of the rights that we fought so hard for and won and thought it was over.
Right.
You know, the younger people now are seeing it. They are becoming activists themselves. And so I'm regardless of what happens, I'm hopeful for the future.
Yeah.
But in the immediate, present, it is scary.
And I think that a lot of youth, they grew up from 9/11,
right,
COVID,
right,
gun shootings across
Sandy
the country,
Hook
Sandy Hook.
Right.
And so their lives have been normalized by this type of thing.
Right.
But they've also been normalized that the LGBTQ community has been out there and relatively, and by no means do I mean not attacked, but we had a pretty couple of years of wins, marriage equality, all that kind of stuff. A lot of it, you go back to HIV and AIDS, which I think helped move us forward quicker, because when two loved ones couldn't go visit each other in the hospital, that moved forward the ability or the need to get married, or the need to be recognized in civil unions where you could go visit your partner and your parents can't override, you've been living with someone for 10 years.
Right.
So I think that the younger generation now is seeing all these things that they have, and I'm hopeful, especially in communities like ours here in South Florida, where it's pretty damn liberal and great for the most part.
There's still a lot of violence and attacks.
Yes, but that the reason that they're standing up now and getting politically motivated is because they have something to lose.
Right.
The two generations before them didn't have to fight for things because nothing was, quote unquote, under attack like it is now. Right. We were always fighting to improve, get more rights approved, but we weren't hitting a wall, when Clinton went and, don't say gay. It was
don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell. I mean, that was a big thing. Was it the right thing at the right time? At that point, it was pretty progressive and pretty groundbreaking that at least something was being done.
And he regrets actually doing that.
He does.
Yeah,
but there was a
many, many
conversation.
times, right?
And the conversation for people that don't know us is based on fear.
Right.
When you live in these little farm towns, you only know people that are like you.
Well,
and you move away if you're not like them.
And when you're on those small farms in those small towns,
Tell me more. Were you driving a tractor?
No, but I mean,
did you have
I hate social media. Hate it. But to this point, these kids are on their phones and they're learning from social media. And these are the same kids who are becoming activists and seeing all the problems. So for that, I do thank social media, because as much of a curse as I think it is, I think it's been a blessing to LGBTQ youth.
Yeah.
So.
And we've had some real tragedies like Matthew Shepard.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That is also rings a bell for people to go, wait a minute. And maybe a lot of people moved away from some of these small towns because of that kind of attack, that they needed to go to the big city. Got to go to the big city and be safer. So I don't know.
All right, next let's clear up trans rights. Remembering TDOR with the State of the Transgender Community Town Hall on November 14th. November is a month of remembrance, advocacy, and celebration for South Florida's trans community. This month will bring together activists, allies, and community leaders for a remarkable and powerful event supporting trans people on the occasion of the upcoming Trans Day of Remembrance, or TDOR. Trans Inclusive Group, based in Wilton Manors, is rallying support for transgender equality through a series of events. One of them is on November 14th. On this day, the community is invited to a reflective evening of discussion on transgender rights and resilience at the Our Fun Foundation Auditorium in Fort Lauderdale. The discussion will be moderated by Nick Harris, VP of Strategic Outreach and Engagement for the Human Rights Campaign, and will feature key figures in the fight for transgender rights, including Nastasia Buchanan of Trans Inclusive Group, mental health clinician Chris Harris, and a transgender activist and educator Regina Gerbier. The panel will address 2024's challenges and discuss advancing transgender equity and resilience. Transgender Day of Remembrance, TDOR, in 2024 gains added significance amid heightened anti-LGBTQ legislation, which has disproportionately affected transgender communities on various fronts, like healthcare, education, and public safety. You must become a part of the event to support the T of the LGBTQ community. HOTspots Happening Out has made a major commitment to the Trans Inclusive Group to support TDOR as one of our 11 pillars of our mission. You can find more information about this event and the entire TDOR program on transinclusivegroup.org. Listen, Trans Inclusive Group does wonders for the trans community. They just do wonders for the whole entire Wilton Manors community. So I would just say, anyone watching, get involved in this. Go to transinclusivegroup.org. As someone not trans whatsoever, there is so much that I can learn, and I want to be able to give as much love to my trans community as they give to me. So do your homework, learn more, and love more. Seriously.
And I think the trans community, it's more than just acceptance. There's so many other things that happen. It's about work inequality and not being able to get a job, because if you're not rich enough to pull it off completely, you don't always get a job right away.
Exactly.
If you are from an but from a health standpoint, same issues. They can't live in Wilton Manors because they can't afford it. So they go out west past Pembroke Pines,
where they don't have
any services, and they're basically become reclusive. And I remember being at it was a SunServe event that was sponsored, I think, by Pfizer at the time, and it was a conversation where they had a bunch of trans women in the room, and we actually did it at our restaurant, and I got to sit in on it, and it was fascinating because there were things I'd never thought of. And I looked at it and going, this is an eye-opener, because we just assume they live in our neighborhood and they can get the services they want from SunServe and these other organizations, but they can't.
It's not that easy.
They can't afford transportation to get into town. They don't want to be seen in public because, you know, they don't have the ability to get the hair growth or the wigs or the correct hormones.
Yeah, so, and it is a challenge, and we continue to see, you know, mental health issues in the trans community and sex work and things that make it more difficult for people to survive. And, you know, the whole job issue is a very serious issue. And we need to take responsibility and educate ourselves and do what we can do to make their paths easier, because what they're experiencing is by far, I think, the hardest.
You know, and we talked about the groundwork, and Black trans women were the first ones to throw the stones. So, you know, we
absolutely
really need to
and that whole story is whitewashed.
And
it's
And it's kind of a mixed bag right now, because our older trans community came out much later as trans because they had to be normalized, if you will, to fit into society. So they played two roles. Maybe on the weekends they got dressed or whatever, but
they can't pass as easy.
So, you know, we assumed drag queens for a while, at least for me, drag queens and trans were the same thing, because we didn't see people that I know now that are trans, but they were always identified as a drag queen, because I always saw them in drag at shows, and they didn't say I'm trans. They would say, you know, they would be performing for all of us, you know, and it's kind of looking back on it, it was kind of cruel, because we treated it as more of a joke, because everyone was dressed up.
You just assumed it was all the same.
It was all and they weren't. And now you've got a younger generation, to their credit, and thanks to education and better awareness and stuff, we see so many more younger people able to be identified while they're young. And if they have the right family stuff, that go through the process early, get integrated while they're still in elementary school, and then can live a healthier, normal life. But we're under attack right now, and we know better than probably most other states, because we have such a strong LGBTQ population here, that we have a bigger community Where if you're elsewhere in the country
You don't
and
have-
you're trans, you have
absolutely not.
no
No,
support.
you have-
And there are
Right.
also a lot of trans people who don't want to be involved in the LGBTQ community. They want to, be trans and live their quiet little heterosexual
That's exactly
life
that
in the
fantasy.
suburbs.
Yes,
and,
yes, of course.
they also need our support.
Absolutely.
Have you seen the show Heartstopper?
No.
Okay, you need
Should,
to see it
yeah.
because right now one of the characters, and I think it's season 3 or
Yeah.
something. I did not know that she was a trans, she is
woman,
trans
yeah.
woman, and she's dating one of the other characters on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and he has known all along. But I don't know if I just missed it on an episode. But we're in season 3, and now she's being questioned about it in public because she's also an artist, and it just brings it right to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
It's an English British
Yeah, I've seen
show.
it. I've seen
I'll
it
have
a
to
few
check it
times.
out.
It's really
You should.
wonderful.
You should.
Yeah, but it's pertinent to this conversation.
Yes.
And opening
Excellent.
minds.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30.
We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we now have more than 10 million views, 10 million, that's major, on the only daily live queer news show in the world. We are proud that we have more than 1,000 new subscribers in October, and that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. Over 500,000 of you have watched this show in the last 60 days. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our community. We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with the segment we call LGBTQ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian culture. Why didn't you give that to Cindy? I mean, whatever, okay. Hilarious police social media post after gay couple arrested for loving it on McDonald's lawn.
That's why they gave it to you.
That's why they gave it to me.
Right.
A lesbian couple was arrested in Livonia, Georgia, after allegedly engaging in sexual activity in public near a McDonald's and a gas station. Police arrived at the scene after receiving a call about an incident. According to the police report, officers found, quote, a white female on top of a black female, end quote, with both having their pants down and, quote, in the process of having intercourse in public view, end quote. Livonia Police Department addressed the incident in a witty Facebook post that is going viral. It states, quote, if you decide to exit I-85 with your life partner while on a road trip to reconcile your relationship, please don't reconcile in the grass between McDonald's and Raceway. Both women were taken into custody for public indecency. I want to know that they jumped to this intercourse thing, and that, Cindy, you're going to have to help me out here. But like, who was on top, and was there a strap-on involved?
Well, there's no details such as that, but I just...
The one time they're not
it's
wearing a police camera.
Now lesbians are having public sex. It's usually the men that are having
you were having it, you just didn't get caught.
I just want to add that I tried the chicken Big Mac, and it's really good. Like, the limited edition chicken Big Mac at McDonald's, I didn't expect it to be good. It was great.
That wasn't what was
That's what I was thinking about with the lesbian PDAs.
Now let's
and you said
queer
chicken, so I was thinking a whole nother thing.
Right.
Let's queer up a different lesbian culture.
Different lesbians.
But not so different.
No, right.
Probably not as funny as mine.
Maybe it is as funny.
All right,
as
we'll see soon.
See. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian culture. Rachel Maddow joke, "Don't sleep on men," brings MSNBC to hilarious stop. Rachel Maddow couldn't pass up the chance to throw in a joke about her sexuality during a Sunday MSNBC panel. The discussion was about a new poll from Iowa top pollster J. Ann Seltzer, showing Kamala Harris with a slight lead over Trump, thanks to unexpectedly low support from young men for the GOP. Co-anchor Nicole Wallace noted that the poll essentially said, "Don't sleep on men." And Maddow responded, quote, "I've been saying that my whole life."
It tells them what they're going to do in the Midwest. I think a lot of pollsters are looking at it. The Tom Bonyers of the world are going, I'd feel good about the Midwest after I saw this.
Well, and she also said, "Don't sleep on men." And I've been saying this, and
I've been saying that my whole life. That's right, everybody. That's the very question. No one's topping that. We're done. I'm done.
That was a real
I
laugh.
love it.
That was a real
I
laugh.
love it. That was
that was
hilarious.
brilliant.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
All
right, you
Rachel
win.
Maddow doesn't really talk about her sexuality, but that was a zinger, and
It's all
that
about
was
timing.
funny.
Yeah, I felt
all
like she
about
had
the
that timing
She's
down.
got that comedic
That beats
timing.
having sex between a Raceway and a McDonald's.
Oh, definitely.
It does. I would buy tickets to Rachel Maddow's stand-up
Yes,
tour. I
but
really
not
would.
to that.
Not
No.
to the Raceway McDonald's.
No, there'd have to be a drive-through, and I'd have to go through quickly in that one.
Exactly. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Gladiator's Pedro Pascal says he'd enjoy getting beat by Paul Mescal in wrestling. The queer teasing continues on the upcoming Gladiator, and we love it. Hollywood heartthrobs Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal have made us all fall in love with wrestling during promotions for Gladiator 2. In a viral clip, Emperor Joseph Quinn asks Mescal and Pascal who would win if they wrestle with each other. Mescal declares confidently, "I'm going to win that one." And then the ever-charming daddy Pascal says, "But I'm going to enjoy it." Gays are going crazy over this clip, and they are surely watching closely if this playful match ever happens.
We're going to play a game of Mescal versus Pascal battle edition. Who is more likely to win a dance battle?
I think it's you.
Okay.
You did a lot of dancing in New York. It's really unnerving when he just stares at you.
To win a rap battle.
To win a rap battle.
I'm not good at rap. Karaoke battle. You know you would win a karaoke battle.
I would win a karaoke.
I hate karaoke! How about cooking battle? I can burn toast.
Then I think I could do it. I can make good salmon and I can make good steak.
And what about spelling bee battle? How do you spell Mescal?
Mescal. Yes, come on, Ireland.
P-A-S-C-A-L. Win a wrestling battle.
I'm going to win that.
But I'm going to enjoy it. Thanks for playing. If you want to see who wins in the arena, make sure you get tickets to Gladiator 2 in theatres everywhere.
Listen, I'm here for it. I didn't really feel it was queer baiting. I just thought it was them being...
Well, we have a new dish
out,
at a Boner Italian restaurant called the Pesto Pascal. Over pasta.
Oh, yeah.
As of tonight, we do. No one in the kitchen knows it, but yeah.
But it's
Well,
it's delicious.
it's really good that we're having this moment of humor because we need to be laughing a lot.
Yeah, we haven't
to
laughed
overcome
too
the
much today.
anxiety.
Yeah, it's true. But no, they don't know yet at the kitchen. Pesto
I just made it up.
Yeah.
Pesto Pascal.
Incredible.
That's great naming of whatever. Yeah, it was great.
That must be the owner of the restaurant.
It
huh?
must
I know.
be.
We must know the owner. I think that's what
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up trans rights. Joe Locke secretly planted a Trans Lives Matter flag in Agatha all along. Marvel's Agatha All Along continues to charm LGBTQ fans with a notable moment involving a trans pride flag appearing in the penultimate episode. Viewers caught a glimpse of the iconic blue, pink, and white flag saying "Trans Lives Matter" in Wiccan's bedroom. Joe Locke, who played the role of Wiccan, shared the story behind it during an interview with The Wrap. He said, quote, "Billy's room initially had posters for movies that he didn't think the character would watch. So we replaced one of them with the Trans Lives Matter flag," end quote. Marvel fans are applauding this gesture of representation. I am also applauding this gesture of representation, and I think the more we normalize things, and and there's a lot of opportunities in media for that, and I'm glad it's happening.
And this goes back to what you said earlier. If the younger generation is normalizing things that we would not have normalized before, and now that the media is doing it and these shows are doing it, it just becomes part of culture. It's part of. It's not this mystery flag I've never seen. It's right there on a major show that's being watched by millions.
And that's why when they become under attack, all these people that watch these shows who've fallen in love with these characters are like, wait a minute.
They will defend.
They've incorporated LGBTQ plus into Easter eggs. That's what they call these, right? The little Easter eggs. I am happy to see that, and I agree it'll just normalize more that we.
Because I remember like when my niece and nephew were just babies, and now one's going to be 30 this year. They when they came to visit the house at that time, my partner and I remember Aiden. He was probably I don't know when kids start to talk, let's say 3. He walked around the house and went, Uncle Glenn's room, Uncle Mark's room, Uncle Glenn and Uncle Mark's room. And it was normalized from that point. It was never a conversation that ever had to be had. And that's kind of what this flag does to me. It does the same thing. It normalizes it. There it is. So why would you attack it? That's just a segment of our society.
I have had the best time at the round table with these two, but unfortunately that is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Eric Restivo, and on behalf of the Queer News Tonight anchors, Miss Cindy Brown and Glen Weinzimer, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. We wish you a good night.